Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. I'm Filipa, and I'm joined by the lovely Nile. We are here on the 11th season already that showcases the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. For this season, we have 128 players. We capped the event very soon. Slots went really, really fast. And it's the biggest event ever they have been for the last couple of seasons, and it's amazing to see the VML grow. Players have been divided into 16 divisions, and they play in a Robin Hood for 7 weeks, and then there's a wild card before cutting into a playoff for the top 32. We are already in week 3, and now the Murders is also a set that can be played here in the VML. If you're interested in joining next season, please follow VMLMTG on Twitter. And yeah, that's it. You can make it into the regional championship. You can make it into the pro tour if you qualify for the VML's finals and do well in that tournament, which is the biggest tournament in the VML. I am really excited. Let's take a look here at our meta breakdown for this week. And Niall, what do you think? Do you think the meta changed a lot with this new set? I mean, I see Boros Convoke as the most played deck here.
Yeah, so the new set, Murder at Karlov Manner, added a lot of really interesting things to Standard. We got a lot of nice aggressive cards. I mean, Novice Inspector, which is effectively a reprinting of Thraben Inspector. We've got Lightning Killix. We've got all of these really powerful Boros cards that have made this Convoke deck that we've seen like such a large percent of our meta share this week. But also some pretty interesting control cards. I mean, the card No More Lies did a lot for blue-white control in the standard meta, and it's been very interesting the last week or so seeing how these cards have affected the meta that kind of grew out of the last couple sets, and standard becoming a more high pressure format with the RC season.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, Rakdos has been one of the most played decks, not seeing that much play anymore. And let's see here our first contestants of the week, what they decided to bring among so many choices. And we start here by Cliff. And Cliff decided to bring Azorius Control. This is definitely an interesting deck with only one creature. What do you think of this deck?
Yeah, so I think this is a very good Azorius control list. Like I was just saying, No More Lies, very powerful new card added into this. And just blue and white already have so many great and powerful cards in standard. But I think this does a very good job of taking advantage of that and eventually just overtaking the game with the Restless Anchorage, the creature land, or Wandering Emperor. So I like this list a lot. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, definitely excited to see it as well. And what is Cliff going to play against? Let's take a look here. And we have Megan. Megan decided to bring Esper Midrange, which is kind of like the Esper legend that we have been seeing. It feels like for 2 years now. What do you think of this list? Any new cards that we see here, or just the same list that has been playing for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I really love this from Megan. Esper Mid has been a deck that has sort of survived multiple standard metas. It's really been around for years at this point. And every time new cards come out, every time the meta shifts, Esper Midrange just adapts to it and is always one of the more powerful decks. And here we see Megan, I don't think she brought in a single new card to it. I think this is all cards that were already legal the past weeks, and I think that's totally, I don't think you need to add new cards. I mean, this is a strong proven deck, and I think she's smart to bring it.
Yeah, to be honest, I did the same this week. I brought the same deck that I've been playing in the last weeks, the Rakdos mid range, and mainly because the first week of a set, I'm not very experimental. I first like to see what's happening and what's winning, and then make a decision based on, as you said, what's happening. And now with less rotation, The decks that were already good, they keep being good, they keep being strong. So let's take a look here as our players get ready to start this match. Do you think any of the players being favored here, Azorius control versus the Esper mid-range?
Yeah, so I think that we're going to see a little bit of an edge to Esper mid-range here. Megan is going to be able to put out threats that are kind of awkward for Cliff. She's really going to make him have exactly the right cards at the right time, and I'm excited to see how this sort of lines up for him.
And looks like we are seeing things from Cliffside here, and uh, it did have only 2 lands, but luckily drew the 3rd land there, which is much needed. And we see that deep cavern bot. There's a no more lies in Cliffside, uh, but let's see here if that resolves. It does. What does Megan take here?
Yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of options, and I think it's a very disciplined play from Cliff here, not countering this bat. I mean, she is going to get a look at all of these cards, but as I was just saying, these have to line up really nicely for Cliff, and I think he's not wanting to use a no more lies on a bat, and it looks like she is going to take the lockdown there.
And it looks like I mean, if you're on Megan's side, you have to be a bit sad to see all those good cards in Cliffs and so many ways to deal with things and just a lot of options overall.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Cliff is now set up really nicely to avoid something like a bat into a Rafine, or just like is able to stay on top of what is probably the more important cards in the matchup, and is totally fine just letting one go away.
And how do you think Megan deals with the fact that she knows that if she drops Rafine, there's a counter on the other side? Trying to apply pressure, but at the same time getting the spells to resolve. It's not an easy task.
Yeah, so what she really needs to do is what we just saw her do, which is have instant speed threats that she can get on the field. Because the difficult thing about this situation is there's the counter spell, and eventually you just have to eat the counter spell. But Megan, having the virtue, was able to just, hold on, wait till Cliff tapped out, and then get something on the board. And being able to just sneak little threats in underneath the control is very good for her.
Exactly, and we see their 4 mana open. A lot of things that Cliff can do here. He can definitely just wait and play that Wandering Emperor instant speed.
Right. And, VML is a open decklist tournament, so Megan knows that Wandering Emperor is a threat here, but also just knows that generally Cliff wants to be holding up his mana, so she can't really gather too much information from the fact that he's not playing cards on his turn, and kind of has to just attack into what could be a Wandering Emperor.
And attacking here, that 2/2 does have vigilance, so at least the Wandering Emperor cannot deal with it.
Yeah, it's definitely more awkward to be dealt with. It can be bounced and things like that pretty effectively.
And it looks like Megan's stuck on 3 lands.
Yeah, 3 land's a little bit tough for her to be stuck on. But really, I think the tricky thing for Megan here is just that she's kind of having to play around all of these control cards. And hopefully she has more instant speed threats or responses for Cliff.
I
But if
see a
not,
couple
she's
of
going to fall behind fast.
Exactly. I see a couple of make disappears, but I think that's it. And Tishana's Tidebinder that can, for example, counter the ability of the Wandering Emperor, but no, we don't see it. Cut down does take care of the 2/2.
Yeah, Tidebinder would have been huge there to deal with the Wandering Emperor.
That card has seen play everywhere. Even in Modern, the card is seeing a lot of play.
I love Tidebinder. I'm such a huge fan of Tidebinder. Since like the day that they revealed Tidebinder, I bought like 8 immediately. I love that card.
Oh, wise, because the card is really, really strong. And I was casting the regional championships, and it was modern, and I just became a fan of the card as well. It is really, really strong. And it
Yeah.
looks like here Megan decided to bring two in the deck list, in her deck list. So
Yeah, I love the 2 main deck Tidebinders from Megan. I mean, works out nicely for Cliff here because there's no way she has the mana to stifle this Field of Ruin. Um, but also very good from Megan that she did have another instant speed threat. Yeah, she's maintaining board presence very nicely.
yeah, Megan is playing really wide, really, really fine here because waiting for the Field of Ruin to target to then, in response, play the 2/2 and go get a white land there.
Yeah, now very interesting. Megan no longer has any blue sources here. Not sure how that's going to affect the upcoming turns from her.
And we have Lord Skeeter here, but no more lies, not resolving, and still no fourth land from Megan. But looks like Cliff also cannot pass to the fifth land, just 4 lands, not drawing a fifth one.
Yeah,
And
not hitting the land drops here is a little bit tough for both players. Probably more so difficult for Megan right now. We know that Cliff has multiple lockdowns and can deal with these tokens whenever he wants to.
also playing very patiently. And I feel like you have to be a patient player to play blue-white.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be so patient. I mean, I feel like just in standard in general right now, it really rewards patience, but especially for a deck like this.
And just passing here. Wedding announcement is a very good threat, but it looks like it's immediately countered there for the no more lies.
Yeah, and this is exactly where you don't want to be against the control deck. You know, we're in the late game. Cliff has way more mana available to him than Megan does. You know, he's got half of her life total, but now those
Oh,
Field of Ruins are just they're just destroying her lands.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That Field of Ruin was brutal. We do see there the much needed third land from Megan, and Rafin is trying to enter the battlefield.
Yeah, and Rafine will enter the battlefield, but it's still just it's not really going to have its day in the sun because Cliff has multiple marches at his disposal. He's got the whale. He's got nothing but options really, and it's just this is not where you want to be against the control deck as the mid range deck. That's for sure.
And here we have to exile a card from end because of that word cost. And no more Rafin. And another march is drawn there. Now Cliff just really needs to be patient because he has the card advantage, mana advantage.
Yeah, I really like this
Oh,
play from Cliff. While Megan is tapped out, while he's just dramatically ahead on board, he can establish a threat, and now Megan is on the back foot. And yep, we are going to see the concession from her.
okay, let's take a look here at the sideboard. What can Cliff bring against Megan? Now that Megan is going to be on the play,
Yeah, so we are seeing Cliff go for these Chrome Host Seed Sharks, which I really like a lot. I'm a huge fan of this card just in general. I think it's very, very strong, especially against decks like Megan's. We're seeing him take out the temporary lockdowns, which a lot of the big threats in Megan's deck are going to be just a little bit more expensive than lockdown can deal with. So I think this is some pretty solid sideboarding from Cliff here.
Yeah, very good sideboarding there. And it shows that Cliff does have experience with this deck, or at least with playing this blue-white archetype, which is not easy to play. And Megan now on the play really needs to make sure she has those early bats to try to disrupt Cliff's end. Otherwise, we saw how things escalated pretty quickly there.
Yeah, early bats, a very big deal for sure. I mean, Cliff started with a pretty strong hand here, and it only got better with drawing that get lost. And no turn two play for Megan is tough.
Yeah, very difficult here for Megan because now Cliff already has the counter available and
Yeah.
a lot of ways to deal with creatures with that March, Get Lost, and Wandering Emperor. So
So
Rafine gets immediately no more lies.
yeah, I mean, this is. I think Megan is absolutely right to just jam Rafine there. I think that's a situation where you have to make Cliff have the counter spell. Unfortunately for her, he did. And now we know from last game, Megan only has the one planes in her deck as basic lands, I believe. So whenever Cliff wants, he can start just like destroying these lands one by one.
Yeah, those Field of Ruins are going to become really, really good. And it's a very solid choice in the blue-white control player to play with these lands because it does punish a lot of the decks in the meta right now.
Now, this is very interesting. Having this Wandering Emperor that actually gets to resolve. Now, of course, Cliff has answers for it, but Megan will at least get an activation off of it.
That's that's a tough spot there for Cliff, and he decides to go with the Field of Ruin and take care of that Triumph. We know that Megan needs to get that plane. It's the only basic land in our deck. Get lost, so that Wandering Emperor is no more. And
Yeah, but
showcasing here why the Get Lost is a choice here for removal, because it can also get the Planeswalkers.
absolutely. And I really like this from Megan, getting that bat out, getting rid of the march, uh, especially having a vigilant creature on her side of the board. It makes the Wandering Emperor much less effective in terms of being a source of removal.
Definitely, and we see there the Field of Ruin. And we know that Megan does not have access to more basics. So
Yeah,
things
that's
get trickier because there's still one more Field of Ruin.
yeah, and Megan knows about it, so she like even knows like what's coming and that she's about to be down to 3 lands, probably going to lose that anchorage. But fortunately, she does have these map tokens from the Get Lost, which are going to be pretty effective and find her more blue sources. That's huge. That's so big for Megan right now.
And getting 2 lands there, Otawara being played, and 3 more damage. Slowly but surely, Megan dealing some damage to Cliff. There's a lot of card draw as well in these blue-white control list.
Yeah, there's a lot of card draw. Now, I'm wondering if, Cliff is thinking Megan is posturing having a counterspell, and that's why she played the Otawara as her land instead of the Anchorage. So that way, if he went to destroy um, one of her blue lands, she would still have blue mana available.
And once again, I have to commend Cliff for his patience here all game, playing things at the right moment.
Cliff is a very strong player, and he definitely knows that with his deck, he wants it to go long. The later in the game we get, the better it is for him. And he's willing to use life as a resource to get there and make sure that he can take things to the very late game.
Let's Field of Ruin. One of those Restless Anchorage, as you said, that is a card that can win games as well. It's a creature land.
Absolutely. And the thing that's so devastating about this for Megan right now is even if she has a counterspell, Cliff can just lock her out of blue mana if she ever spends any of it.
Yeah, and that Sunfall also leaves that 2/2 behind.
Wedding Announcement's a very big play for Megan, though. Definitely keeps her in the game. Very, very tricky, annoying card to deal with for Cliff right now.
We do see the march there. And I think Megan for Cliff first getting that Restless Anchorage from Megan with the Field of Ruin.
Yeah, and again, just being able to blow up these blue lands, and I mean, we didn't even see Megan tap it for blue this time. But even if she does, Cliff can just go to the next phase and, just lock her out of ever being able to cast a counterspell.
Yeah, and that march was so key there, being able to take care of that Wandering Emperor, or of that Wedding Announcement. And this is the concession. I mean, that 1/1 attacks into a 2/2. And this was a clean win there for Cliff with the blue-eyed control.
Yeah, very clean. I mean, this is the thing with mid-range decks like Esper mid, right? Is you're kind of trying to prepare to handle the more aggressive decks and handle the more controlly decks. And sometimes you just don't hit the right parts of your deck. The cards just don't line up the way you wanted them to. I think both of our players played really great, and congratulations to Cliff.
Completely agree. Congratulations, Cliff, on the win here this week, and Megan as well for an amazing job here playing this week. And let's take a look here. I think we are ready to showcase the profiles of our next players. And we have LadyJ here with Mono White Toxic, and that's such a fun deck. What do you think of this list?
Mono White Toxic, I think this is such an exciting deck. We've seen a lot of different Toxic decks pop up in Standard. Once Standard became like a higher pressure format, once people started saying like, oh, I need to win tournaments so I can go to the RC, we started seeing decks pop up almost exclusively to destroy Domain Ramp, and Toxic was the one that just annihilated Domain. And we've seen a lot of flavors of that. Mono White, very interesting. It is so much more all in on the creatures side of Toxic, but it really smooths out the mana base to do so. So I'm very excited to see how her list performs.
And Nile, I think this is a case to say that Division 8 is pretty toxic because against LadyJ, we have none other than Josh here, and they are playing Simic Toxic. So it's toxic versus toxic. Let's see which one performs better. What do you think of this other toxic version here?
Yeah, so I think the most common flavor of Toxic that we've been seeing in Standard has been Bant Toxic. So I think it's kind of interesting that in one match between two players, we do have Bant Toxic. It's just spread across two decks. I think these two Toxic decks are trying to do very different things. The Simic list here is going more all in on the Rot Priest strategy with the Rot Priests and the Ivies, just hoping to get those poison counters on without even having to do combat damage sometimes. I think it's going to be hard to say who has an edge in this matchup because both decks, while they have the same end goal, are going about it in such different ways. I do think if Josh lines their cards up the right way, then the turns where or the games where they have like Rob Priest into Ivy into March are just going to be kind of unwinnable for LadyJ, but the games where, LadyJ is going to have more consistent games where she's able to just get out Skrelv's Hive, Jawbone Duelist, stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out.
I'm really excited as well. Let's take a look at our players getting ready here for this amazing match. And we are seeing here from LadyJ point of view, and pretty good end. I mean, a bit eye on lens from Lady, but
Yeah, pretty decent hands for both players. I think I'd give Josh's hand the edge here just because the Rot Priest is there. I think if we had a Skrelv in hand for LadyJ instead of one of those planes, this would be one of her best opening hands. But I mean, this is still pretty good. Getting to go Skrelv's Hive um, on turn 2 here is very nice.
also really good play there from Josh, not just playing the Rod Priest, waiting to have something available like a royal treatment to be able to protect it.
Yeah, absolutely. Heads up play from Josh there. Knows that they don't want to get their Rot Priest eaten by something like an ossification, which would just generate no value at all. Uh, really, really like that play from them here.
And dodging that ossification because of that. So we have Myrex here, and so the Annex Sentry is going to try to take care of that Rot Priest. We know about the royal treatment on the other side.
Yeah, I like this a lot because Lady J is aware of Josh's deck, knows that they have plenty of cards that can, you know, give the Rot Priest Hexproof or phase it out or anything like that. But this still makes it to where Josh has to play that card and Lady J still ends up with a creature on the board.
And looks like here um, Josh does take another approach other than the royal treatment with that Tevar stand, which is another way to protect our Rot Priest. And we see an Ivy here.
Yeah, Ivy is huge for Josh. This is one of those like high roll games that I was just talking about where they're going to get Rot Priest down, they're going to get Ivy down, and it's just going to be harder and harder for Lady J to do anything about it. I mean, we know that Josh has more protection for these creatures in hand, and the poison counters are going to start stacking up on Lady J before she knows what's hit her.
And we have that ossification on the Rod Priest. But we know on the other side, Josh is ready to protect it. And they do go there for the royal treatment on the Rod Priest.
Yeah, which is pretty huge. I mean, brings Lady J up to 3 poison counters already and makes it to where attacking is just not really an option.
Yeah, and Josh drew the second Tyvar stand there, which once again is going to be able to protect that Rod Priest. And that Rod Priest doing some work because Lady, she's already at 5 poison counters.
Yeah, she is already at 5 poison counters. It's a really really tough spot to be in. I mean, this is already basically game over, right?
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, I'm just trying to see if there's not no board wipe missing, but no board wipe in the mono white deck.
Yeah, and
So
Lady J, just going for it. I mean, if this ossification were to connect, it could definitely keep her in the game. But we know that there's all sorts of answers just waiting in Josh's hand.
and ossification there on the Rod Priest and paying the word cost. But now, once again, Josh ready to protect that Rod Priest.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see this if you're LadyJ. It's just exactly the cards you hoped that your opponent did not draw. Uh, but it's, the reason Josh's deck is built like it's built is so it can do things like this.
Yep, and I mean, now we just need to target our creatures. That royal treatment does the work,
Yep.
and that's enough poison counters. And what a showcase on how strong this Simic toxic deck is. If you are not able to take down that Rot Priest, because there's other scenarios where first the deck needs to mulligan pretty aggressively to make sure that you have the Rot Priest as well as some protection. But in this case, Josh able to get exactly what they needed. And taking a look here at our opponent's lists, because it is open deck list. And
It is.
what do you think there of the inclusion of more sleep out the backs?
Yeah, I think this is really good, um, to bring in more slip at the backs. Josh knows that they their deck is all in on this Rot Priest plan, and LadyJ honestly has like quite a few ways to deal with it. Lay down arms, ossification, the annex entries. Uh, as long as they can stop those from ever connecting, they're in a really good position.
And now LadyJ there on the play with that 1-1. And we see a bit of an awkward end from Josh because there's no Rod Priest in end.
Yeah, very awkward hand indeed. And this is kind of, as I was saying earlier, Josh's deck has more potential to high roll into something extremely powerful, but LadyJ is going to have more consistent games, which we're seeing another turn to Skrelv's Hive, only this time it's much more effective. And then we're also seeing the Takasia's Welcome, which is going to be incredible with that Skrelv's Hive. I mean, this is kind of the dream start for LadyJ here.
Yeah, and we see more 1-1s and just a lot of card draw overall for Lady. And if Josh does not find uh, the Rod Priest there, things are definitely not looking up.
Yeah, I mean, that's already 3 poison counters for Josh, so they are corrupted. LadyJ gets to kind of just sit back, and if she wants, she can just activate the Mirex. She doesn't even have to cast any spells. It's going to trigger Takasia's Welcome. She's just going to be drawing cards, drawing cards. This is such a strong start from her deck.
Definitely, we got to see Josh deck showcased game one, and now we're seeing Lady J showcase her deck game two, because I mean it's working out pretty well, and it's a
Yeah,
completely different history this time around.
yeah, very different. As I was saying before, it's just two decks trying to do the same thing in entirely different ways. And Josh knows that this is over. What an explosive game.
Yep, and these are pretty explosive games. That's what you expect from Toxic. And I love when we get to see both decks showcased. And now we're taking a look here at this mono white deck, and the sideboarding looks like doing some tweaks here and there.
Yeah, it looks like going down a little bit on the Takasia's Welcomes and bringing in a little bit more removal. I like that a lot from LadyJ. The welcomes are very powerful, but they're so much more powerful on the play when you get to play them on turn 3 before your opponents have their turn 3. And I also really like, from Josh here, bringing in these spell pierces and just getting ready to handle the removal that LadyJ is bringing in. I think that's very heads up.
And let's see who takes the toxic crown. Is it Mono White or is it, oh, those four slip up the back? Okay, again, we are seeing, I mean, Josh does have an okay end, but no Rod Priest, and that makes it much worse. And this time, LadyJ much more prepared with that lay down arms and oh, there is the Rod Priest there. Okay, so
Oh,
there's the
yeah, I
Rod
think they
Priest
drew
there.
it. I think they drew it for turn.
Okay, that's fortunate.
That is quite fortunate. I'm curious to see if LadyJ is going to go for the laydown arms, or if she's just going to get Jawbone Duelist and develop her board a little bit more.
So there is the Spell Pierce there, ready to counter that lay down arms. And unfortunately, LadyJ not able to attack while that Rod Priest is there. And there is already the royal treatment in a bunch of ways to get that going. And we have seen two kinds of games: the games where we see Rod Priest and the games where you don't see Rod Priest, and they are completely different kind of games.
They are very different games. It's really like a testament to the resilience of Josh's deck that both of the games where they've had Rot Priest, it's not like LadyJ hasn't had answers. She has had multiple answers each time. It's just half of Josh's deck is built around protecting the Rot Priest.
But no more protection.
No more protection, and an
This
ossification off the top is so huge for LadyJ.
definitely. And now LadyJ has to go for it, right? Like
Oh,
not.
absolutely. She absolutely has to go for it. It puts her in such a powerful position if it connects. And if it doesn't, you're just probably never going to win that game anyway.
Ooh, and I'm sure she got really happy to see that happen and to see no more royal treatments.
Oh, yeah. She has to be so thrilled to know that that connected.
And we do have the elusive otter there. First, we are going to be able to put some counters on the Drake there, drawing a card.
Yeah. Now,
Not a bad
very,
card.
very important to note here that both these players are corrupted at this point, which is a pretty big deal for Lady J's deck, especially with those seed cores on the ground. That's going to let her pump those creatures up and get around some blockers that Josh may be able to put down.
Yeah, and that's for sure a big advantage there. That Myrex is already there as well. And there's more in end, which late game can be really good. But Josh doing a good job applying some pressure with that Drake every turn.
Yeah, the Drake is definitely getting in for pretty reasonable damage.
And we're going to see there another elusive otter, the adventure part of it. And dividing the counters, which makes sense. And now let's see if they decide to attack with both or just one. No attacks there. So playing more on a defensive mode.
Yeah, and Josh definitely has very nice pressure applied here. And I can see why they would want to sit back. Now, this creature will be able to get pumped up by the seed core. It looks like we're going to see this combat trick come down and shrink it.
-1, -0.
Yeah, so I think we need to activate the seed core again before this resolves. But the second one will not resolve, so this Jawbone Duelist will still die. But we'll trade with the Otter.
And not playing the Scroll there, leaving someone open for those Myrex, and man, looks like Josh just making sure what's in the other player's side. And that Drake is doing some job, drawing so many cards. I'm impressed.
Yeah, drawing a lot of cards, drawing into another Rot Priest, which is pretty huge here. But I really
5
like
more damage.
leaving the mana up for LadyJ. She's not really in any rush to play these things. I think just developing her board with the Mirex is pretty good value for her right now.
Yeah, and it looks like Josh has a couple of options here. Not looking too bad for Josh, actually. I'm liking their position more now.
Yeah,
And again,
it's not too bad at all. And this elusive otter adventure, gonna really be able to put in a lot of work, and LadyJ really doesn't have the board to stop. Get Lost is a huge pickup for her, though.
for sure, Get Lost being able to, but what do you go for? That Drake, right? Now the bigger threat might be the Drake.
Yeah, it's always tempting against this deck to just get rid of the Rot Priest when you think you can, but that Drake is pretty huge. Now, I think if I am LadyJ, I probably want to do that in Josh's upkeep before they draw and get more answers, but that way if they need to phase out their creature, they won't be able to attack with it next turn.
Yeah, and it looks like that's what LadyJ decides to do there in the upkeep. Because that targets a creature, we get a poison counter.
Right. I like this a lot from LadyJ. I think she's very aware of what is winning and losing her the game right now. And, the Rot Priest is scary, but Josh is at 7 poison. And after this turn, LadyJ is going to have 5 toxic creatures on the board.
And as you said, 7 poison, that's a lot. 3 of the magic number here. And let's see what Josh decides to do. I think they are going here for the adventure side of that otter again, getting one more poison counter. Already at 6, and you see how good that Rod Priest works over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, getting that otter down, very huge for Josh, keeps them from losing next turn. And is honestly set up in a pretty nice position here.
It's a very close game. I mean, game 1 we saw Josh completely running the game over. Then we saw on game 2 LadyJ take her chance to make this mono white deck shine. And now we have a third game that is very close.
Yeah, it is very close. And we know that LadyJ is effectively also at 7 poison, assuming the slip out the back ends up targeting one of Josh's own creatures.
So Josh has to block some of the things there.
Yeah, I think blocking the sentry with the Rot Priest is very heads up from Josh because they know that she cannot pump the sentry with the seed core. So Josh does not end up having to slip out the back their Rot Priest and gets a lot more control over how they end up playing this card.
And 9 poison.
9 poison is so many, but I mean, LadyJ is at 7, which is basically 8 when the Rot Priest attacks.
Yep.
This is going to be so close.
But that's 8. And basically, Josh needs to win this turn.
Yes.
9. So we need
Josh
to
needs to
draw
draw.
something. Yeah. Oh, that's not
Ooh.
it. That's not the draw that Josh was hoping for. Any spell, basically, we do it.
Any spell that targets would have done it. What a close game. That was incredible.
That was incredible, and I love to see different decks showcase here. We saw first that amazing showcase of Control versus Esper, and now these both toxic decks shining through, and that's why I love the VML. I mean, it's an amazing tournament, and we get to see so much talent bringing so many creative decks and playing very well. Both players here playing amazing, and it was a great game. Congrats to both players and to LadyJ here on taking the victory. And I saw that LadyJ was 2-0, so now she's 3-0 in the VML, which puts her in a very good position in the division. But there are still 4 more weeks to go before we have the cut to top 32. So that's going to be very excited to see who makes it into the top. And I think we are ready to show who our next players are. So let's take a look here at our players card. And we have Llachlan, I hope I'm saying the name right, and they are on Division 6. And they're playing Selesnya Toxic. So kind of a combination. We saw the Mono White Toxic, we saw the Simic Toxic, and now we have Selesnya Toxic.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of toxic decks tonight. That is for sure. I think this is a very exciting and interesting list for it. Going back to what I was saying earlier about Bant Toxic being one of the more common toxic decks we see in Standard right now. This list just does away with the blue from that. So you still get all the stuff we were seeing from LadyJ's list, well, most of it at least. But then you also get the Rot Priest. You do lose out on the counterspells and the marches and some of the proliferate abilities, but you smooth out the mana base some, which is one of the more difficult parts of the deck.
Yeah, and I just have to say, because I love these flavor questions that are made to our players on what is your favorite arena avatar, and it's the Pinkie Pie, and that's actually my favorite avatar too, or one of them. So it's a very cool choice there. And let's see what they're playing against. So we are seeing Charlotte here, and Charlotte is playing a Jeskai creature combo. And tell me a bit about this deck because I think it's the first time I'm seeing it.
Yeah, so for a while we've been seeing these monastery mentor decks in standard, and a lot of times there's some combination of monastery mentor, Hadigen, a bunch of cantrips, and some ways to retrieve creatures from the graveyard. This is one of those, except it adds red in, which gives us access to some pretty cool additions. So we get the third path iconoclast, which is, kind of like Monastery Mentor at home. We also get Bitter Reunion, which synergizes nicely with this like mentor plan because we can just all of the sudden make a giant board and swing with it all in one turn. But it also gives us access to Lightning Helix, the card that was recently made legal and standard through MKM, which I think is a very exciting addition to decks like this. Now, the drawback here is once again the mana base. There's no Jeskai Triome in standard. I think Seachrome Coast is the only fast land in these colors. So the mana base is tricky and it's tough, but the cards are undeniably powerful, and I'm excited to see it play out.
I'm excited to see as well, and let's have our players ready to start this incredible matchup. Which, once again, I have to say, we showcased 6 different decks today so far, which just goes to show how many different lists can be played and can have success here in the VML, which is always lovely to see. And we are seeing things from Llachlan's side, and they have 2 crawling chorus and 1 jawbone duelist.
Yeah, I think with a deck like this, I mean, I think it's hard to say no to many hands that go turn 1, turn 2. I don't think Llachlan is happy to have drawn another land there, but being able to play Crawling Chorus into Duelist is very nice.
And we see there the 1/1 being played. We have Consider on the other side. And Charlotte has a lot of ways to start applying pressure really fast as well. So Charlotte wants to be playing something like a Shredder here or a third part Iconoclast, and we see there the Shredder.
Yeah, Shredder is a huge get here for Charlotte. That is such a big wall for Llachlan to have to get over, and is really going to make it difficult. Now, being able to put down something like a Skrelv's Hive this turn is pretty nice while the shields are down, so to speak, and just start developing their board turn over turn.
But things will get a bit awkward for Llachlan here because that Leisure Shredder is going to start conniving because Llachlan does want to play multiple spells a turn. That's what this deck wants to do.
Yeah, it puts them in a tough spot because both players want to play a bunch of cheap spells, and even without conniving, the Ledger Shredder blocks basically all of Llachlan's deck just on its own. It's very powerful against this deck.
And we're seeing that here. I mean, that Crawling Chorus is going to enter the battlefield, but at the cost of a connive trigger there from Charlotte's side.
Yeah, and Charlotte discards a Monastery Mentor, which if you're Llachlan, that is not what you want to see. You
Nope,
do
I'm
you do not want to see your opponent discard one of their key cards because that means Charlotte's hand must be so strong.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw that discarding there. And let's see here. What's the follow-up player by Charlotte? What can she do here? I mean, not discarding a land maybe gives away that might not be a fourth land.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I mean, whatever it is, I just know if it were me, I would be terrified the second I saw that Monastery Mentor hit the graveyard.
Ooh, oh, and this is a new card. Getting that gene back. It's Call a Surprise Witness from the new set.
Yeah, so getting the gen back onto the field, really nice and really smooths out Charlotte's turns, just making all of her spells a little cheaper. And still, we have this Ledger Shredder. Now, the good thing for Llachlan here is they have built like a formidable board. They've got 4 creatures here. Uh, they can get in for they can corrupt Charlotte this turn.
Yeah, and Llachlan here going wide, attacking with everything and starting to put some counters there. As you said, that Skrelv Ives has been incredible here.
Yeah,
And
Skrelv's Hive has been very nice and has really put Llachlan in a pretty decent position here. Although Charlotte does have some pretty big flyers that are going to be difficult to deal with.
yeah, and that genie is going to get bigger and bigger within every turn. And we see already Charlotte being able to deal 10 damage. And I'm not sure what Llachlan can do here. They are not in a great spot, but at the same time, if Charlotte does decide to attack with both creatures, then we see an army able to swing back and deal a bunch of poison counters.
Yeah, they will put Charlotte to 8 poison, but on top of that, they will also gain 5 life. Because Skrelv's Hive is online with the corrupted. Actually, more than 5 life if they end up activating the Seed Core. So this is really like a pretty interesting position for Charlotte to be in, and looks like just gonna swing in with the Jhin.
Which, I mean, it is enough to put things into a 2-turn clock anyway.
Right, but with Llachlan being able to gain what 5, 6, 7 life this turn, definitely makes it awkward. Although I don't know if 15 life is enough against what Charlotte has. Because that's just like a connive trigger and a couple spells in the yard away from being lethal next turn.
For sure, and we see there that Llachlan did not draw any removal. So just going wide there and attacking with everything.
Yeah, this is definitely more lands than you hope to draw with a deck like this.
Definitely, and we have to see if Charlotte does have enough spells there to make sure that the Jean and the Leisure Shredder are big enough to finish the game this turn.
Yeah, it's going to be close because this is something where, Charlotte does have to close it out this turn. But there's so many combination of spells that can get her there. I mean, even just surveilling 3 right now could be enough.
Yeah, but by playing that card from the graveyard, the Jean did lose 1 power.
This is
So
true.
let's
It
see.
is a little bit of risk. Looks like is replaced by 1 other spell, so I think it breaks even.
So right now, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage, 3 more damage needed. And does Charlotte have enough? Okay, we have a bitter reunion first. That is going to be able to discard maybe some spells into the graveyard. Let's see. Or try to find them. Looks like Charlotte is trying to find things. Okay, so 13. 1 more spell does it because then it also triggers Connive.
Right. Or if we can just get a creature on the field and give it haste with the bitter reunion.
Oh, that's true. But that is enough. I mean, as long as there's a land, a non-land in hand.
Let's see if there is. And it looks like there was a iconoclast.
And now that's going to resolve, go to the graveyard, and that's exactly 15.
It's exactly 15. We'll see if Charlotte just ends up going straight to combat and pushing this lethal.
It is open deck list, so she does have access to seeing Llachlan deck list.
Mm-hmm.
Getting more threats in the board and just making sure there's enough. So that bitter reunion sacrifice there to give haste, as you said, and that should be more than enough.
Yep, and that is going to be our game 1. I mean, that was actually extremely close, Filipa. If Charlotte wasn't able to string together the right cards there, Llachlan had it, and they definitely have to know that.
Yeah, that was definitely a close game here. And we take a look here at our Selesnya deck list and some cards that we didn't even see play, like that. We see here now Bloated Contaminator. That Slaughter is also a key card in this deck that we didn't see play. And obviously the Rod Priest. And
Yeah,
what do you think might now change with also Llachlan being on the play?
yeah, things definitely change a little bit play draw here. I mean, Slaughter Singer, one of the reasons to be playing green in your toxic deck. I think if I'm Llachlan, I think I want to go up on Annex Sentries, which I see that we see them going down on them right now, but the creatures the creatures in their opponent's deck are so important to what's happening that I think if it's me, I really want more ways to, deal with a mentor or an iconoclast that hits the board.
And now we do have and with only 2 lands, and the lands are kind of awkward.
Lands were kind of awkward. Some pretty big threats in the hand, but the lands were a little awkward, and we are going to send it back for a new one here.
And we see Skrelv, 2 royal treatments, and the Skrelv goes away.
I have to say, I am pretty shocked to see the Skrelv go away. But I'm excited to see Slaughter Singer in action here with the Crawling Chorus, beefing up these creatures and really ramping up the toxic.
Yeah, and we're going to see that Slaughter Singer also being able to do some good work. We have planes here, and going for a second Crawling Chorus.
Yeah, second Crawling Chorus. Yeah, developing the board some with these creatures, that are a little recursive in a way.
No green means no royal treatment, and these 3 creatures do need to do a lot of work. Okay, we did see Myrex, but the thing with Myrex is that only gives you the mana of the chosen color for that turn, so it doesn't really work very well with the royal treatment.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit awkward. I think it is something where you are a little priced into using one of these royal treatments.
But then you also give the chance of your opponent to connive here.
That's true, you do, but it is an unenviable position mana base wise, that's for sure. But I mean, if this does force Charlotte's hand a bit into having to discard a non-land card to save their Shredder, which we do see them discard another Shredder. So, I mean, that's not too bad. And then, when else are you using these royal treatments anytime soon?
That's true. And we see now that Charlotte has access to, I think, 4 cards, and we also have the Otherworldly Gaze in the graveyard. We see a second Shredder.
Ooh, but a second Slaughter Singer as well. That's really nice for Llachlan over here.
That is for sure very nice. It's going to be able to apply some pressure there. And whenever another creature you control with toxic attacks gets +1/+1, so now they will get +2/+2. This Crawling Chorus.
Yeah.
So attacking with a 3/3, another 3/3, and a 4/4. Ooh, and Charlotte taking a lot of damage there.
Yeah, I was very intrigued to see if Charlotte was going to consider double blocking, like that Slaughter Singer or something like that. But looks like wanting to play it very defensively, keep her Shredders around, knows that she can grow them and they will always be good blockers. And getting to recommission a Shredder from the graveyard, also pretty huge.
And triple Shredder.
Triple Shredder. Oh, wow. But the Destroy Evil from Llachlan, going to be able to chip away at this wall a little bit.
That is definitely really good there. And everything goes to attacks there. And waiting there to see the blockers before deciding where to use these Destroy Evil.
Yeah, and definitely going to see it used now. And It can save this Slaughter Singer, which it looks like it's going to do.
And very well played there by Llachlan, being able to still deal some damage, still get some poison counters, deal with the Shredder, but also making sure no creature was dying on their side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very nice way to preserve the board state a bit.
Things are actually not looking bad at all for Llachlan here.
Now, things are
Charlotte,
looking quite good.
yeah, Charlotte only with one card in hand, but it is that new card that's going to get back the Djinn from the graveyard.
Yeah, this is a big deal for Charlotte. But Skrelv's Hive for Llachlan could be just enough.
Yeah, also giving all the creatures lifelink
Mm-hmm.
because there's already the corrupted.
Now, the tricky thing here is Charlotte has built a very impressive wall that Llachlan can't really attack into. And the more turns that Charlotte gets, the more chances she has to string together just like a ridiculous line of cards, which is something her deck's very good at doing. On the flip side, with Skrelv's Hive down, the more turns Llachlan gets, being able to play creatures, generate these mites, the more opportunities they have to get wide enough to get these last 4 poison counters in against Charlotte. So, Llachlan's been pretty well positioned most of this game, but Charlotte is far from out of it.
I completely agree there, and unfortunately, it looks like Charlotte not getting a lot of things that Consider might have just gotten a land because we are not seeing anything being played for the last couple of turns.
Yeah, difficult to say what exactly is in Charlotte's hand. We are going to
And here,
see a big swing here.
look at all those triggers. And if there's nothing on Charlotte's side, I think this is game.
Yeah, I mean,
Just on live,
just on life. I mean, that's pretty huge. We're gonna get a game 3.
I love when that happens. I already said I love when we get to see a game 3 and we see both games and decks showcased. And what it looked like kind of a bit of maybe an awkward start for um, Llachlan here ended up working pretty well. And we are seeing now maybe these destroy evils entering after seeing those big shredders and those big jeans.
Yeah, I really like bringing in the destroy evils here. Like I was saying last game when they were sideboarding, I think you know Charlotte's deck is so dependent on these creatures that having ways to get rid of them is vital.
And we see a Crawling Koros, Krell's Hive, which was MVP last game, and some ways to protect our creatures.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I think it's hard to say no to hands that go 1-drop Skrelv Scythe. That's a very powerful line. And I think especially in this matchup, getting that Skrelv Scythe down early is very good against a lot of hands that Charlotte can end
Ooh,
up
and
with.
this is such a good draw there. That rotting root priest was what was missing. A venerated root priest. It was what was missing here in this end, but now it's here again.
Yeah, drawing Rot Priest really changes the entire texture of the game and what I think Llachlan wants to be doing. Is they're gonna get in for a bit of damage here. Now, it would really be ideal if they had had a untapped mana to be able to play this turn, um, to hold up protection for this Rot Priest. But I think just developing the board a bit is still quite favorable for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And taking a look at the deck list from Charlotte's side, besides the Lightning Helix, there's not a lot of ways to deal with that Rod Priest. We see the Leisure Shredder there.
Yeah, and you do also have to wonder if Charlotte is even keeping the Lightning Helixes in against Llachlan's deck. Just
That's a good
because
point.
there's not like a ton of great targets for it. You don't care too much about your life total.
But now we can see Llachlan with some options in hand.
Yeah, definitely a lot of choices, and notably has the ability to play one of these Skrelv's Hive while holding up protection for Rot Priest, and really just start kind of going turbo on these these poison counters, which are going to see a very aggressive attack here from Llachlan.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see. Looks like maybe using that Tamio safekeeping just to give indestructible to the 1/1. On the other side, the Tiver stand, if there's nothing on the other side, can take care of that Shredder.
Right. It definitely could do it. We're going to see some manual land taps here.
So it has to be for 2, right?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like there's like a little overlay that's actually in the way of the plus sign, making it difficult
Mm-hmm.
for Llachlan to. Oh
Oh
no.
yeah, that is that is so difficult when it happens.
Yeah, hopefully there's a way to get this thing off the screen.
Yeah, and imagine the pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, going for the Rod Priest there.
Yeah, I
Oh, and
think
just for 0. I think that was an issue with the overlay.
yeah, I think this is just an issue of the overlay and the rope and
Yeah,
would never happen in paper.
that's true. I feel bad for Llachlan, but these things do happen. And I mean, they still are not badly positioned, but definitely if that spell did correctly resolve, things would have been a bit differently.
Yeah, things would be just a little bit better for Llachlan here. But I mean, at least if it was going to happen to any creature, it happening to a crawling chorus is probably ideal. But we're finally going to get to see Charlotte's deck do what it is really built to do, which we haven't really got to see yet, which is, get down a Monastery Mentor, start casting spells, just get trigger after trigger with connives and, prowess monks and all of these different things.
And a Llachlan here going for the Damio safekeeping, also gaining some life, and 5 counters, poison counters on the other side. Ooh, that's a huge draw there.
That is a huge draw for Llachlan, especially because we know they boarded out one of their sentries, didn't bring in the other two. This is a one of sentry, I believe. And it could not have come at a better time. It is going to. Oh, it looks like Llachlan's actually going to go for the Ledger Shredder with the sentry, is not worried about the Mentor.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised there because this mentor can develop the board pretty wide. And with 5 poison counters left, Llachlan really does want to get those 2 Skrelv Eyes on the board. But once again, like if Llachlan starts to do 2 spells a turn, that Shredder is a big threat.
Yeah. Now, the really scary thing from Charlotte from this position, I think, is she also has that bitter reunion on board. So if she's ever able to string together, 4 or 5 little spells, she's gonna have like 5 monks who are all, like 1/1s up to like 5/5s, plus the mentor itself, and then she can just pay 1 and they all get to attack that turn.
That's true. That's definitely scary, and Llachlan in a very awkward position. I mean, they cannot really attack very beneficially here. There is the Eganjo though, which is able to, if that uh, monastery mentor blocks, to be able to take care of it.
Yeah, it is a tricky position to be in just with these prowess creatures because Charlotte is able to set herself up in a position where she doesn't have to act first. She gets to react to Llachlan's plays, which I think might be what we're about to see here.
Yeah, and we can see things getting a bit scary here on Charlotte's side.
Right. And, it only takes a couple spells to grow this mentor outside of Igonjo range.
And we see another gaze. There's another gaze as well in the graveyard, but no blue mana, I think, to be able to
Mhm.
cast it. So does
Yeah.
Charlotte? Okay, it looks like at least that mentor does die. So some good work done there from the Eganjo.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Now Charlotte's deck is filled to the brim with ways to get that mentor back from the graveyard.
Yeah, and I'm really liking this new card from the murder set, the Call of Surprise Witness.
Yeah, the Call of Surprise Witness is a very nice one of those cards. Now, I mean, this is still kind of scary for Charlotte because this Rot Priest keeps getting triggers with these tempo spells, and Charlotte is already up to 7 poison.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even notice so much poison dealt, and just showcases how good this Rod Priest is. We see Jean there, so a lot of ways there to apply pressure from Charlotte's side. But as you said, having to be careful against those poison counters.
And I think the bounce on the Sentry is pretty interesting. It does give Llachlan a few more choices with the Sentry, and it looks like they are going to go for the Hottigen this time.
Yeah, but not able to attack there with the Rod Priest or the Sentry.
Not able to attack, and Charlotte doesn't know this, but bouncing that Sentry was enough of a tempo play that it kept Llachlan off being able to play a single of these Skrelv's Hive that are just sitting in their hand, and that's a card that you want to play sooner rather than later usually.
And those are already 3/3s, and it just showcases the power of the powers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier that Charlotte's deck is very capable at doing a lot all of the sudden. A
Ooh.
second Rot Priest. I mean, it's getting to the point where if Charlotte ever gets, or sorry, if Llachlan ever gets a way to target one of their creatures, that's going to be almost checkmate for Charlotte.
And things have been very swingy. Like one turn, I think Llachlan has the advantage. The following turn, I already think Charlotte is the one that has the advantage. So definitely very, very close games. And if we did have an advantage bar, it would be swinging all the way, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very awkward position for Charlotte because even if you have a card that can deal with the Raw Priest, like a Lightning Helix or something, if you cast it, you're getting 2 poison counters, you're going up to 9. And so still a card that targets creatures is an out for Llachlan because they'll still have 1 Raw Priest on board, and when they target it, you go to 10 poison and you're dead.
And Charlotte deciding what to do there, and that is one of the recursion spells that gets that card back, and this mentor is going to do some work. I mean, we are
Yeah.
going to start seeing all these triggers, more creatures to block, which is exactly what Charlotte also wants to be doing.
Yeah, Helping Hand is an enormous play here from Charlotte. If she is able to build a strong enough and big enough board right now and give all these creatures haste, she might be able to do a big enough attack that forces Llachlan to block with one or both of these Rot Priests, which would be really the only clean way to get them off the board without almost like putting yourself in check.
Yeah, but looks like no follow-up here, and a dead Shredder is going to attack for 4. Oh, another Shredder.
Another Shredder. So I mean, we are close on the side of Charlotte to just being able to swing out and get there. I mean, I think it's no cards in hand though.
And the thing is that those two Skrelv's Hive are, or in this case, double spelling into a creature and spells Hive, is going to allow Charlotte to connive twice. And that can put some counters on those shredders
Yeah,
and
you
luckily down to 10.
you just you kind of can't afford to do it if you're Llachlan, like oh, and we're gonna see a very aggressive attack here. But it is a
I
decent
wonder.
enough time to make an aggressive attack as Charlotte's hand is empty. She has no way to grow these monks. If she wants to kill a rot priest, she has to triple block it.
Also gaining some life there in the process.
Hmm.
It's actually a very good attack there from Llachlan.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to give Charlotte any more. You don't want to let Charlotte's board stay the way that it is. It's very big. It's very scary. At any time, you could all of a sudden have like a bunch of 5/5s swinging at you.
And Forest is not exactly the top deck that you're looking for if you are Llachlan, and they need something to be able to get some counters on those rod priests. And I wonder if they decide to attack here with anything.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little more awkward now that this 4/6 Ledger Shredder is up on the side of Charlotte. But it is also getting to a point where you have to make some unfavorable trades just to stay alive.
And it looks like attacking here with
This is,
basically everything.
this is a very big attack. It does allow for a kill on the Slaughter Singer, which I think is pretty huge. And it looks like Charlotte agrees because she's willing to trade the Monastery Mentor into it. I really like this block from Charlotte. You know, being willing to go down on material a bit in order to take 0 additional poison.
And now just going white because the truth is that Charlotte is at 7 poison. So all that Llachlan really needs to do is stay alive and keep growing that board with the Skrelv Ives, which are already 2. So only one, it's still one more in end.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
Oh, yeah. That is a devastating pickup. It really just makes this so much more awkward for Charlotte.
So here Charlotte can block with 2 creatures if But here attacking, yeah, makes sense. Just attacking with 3 to keep that sentry alive, which is important because it's holding the gene.
Yeah, I think keeping the sentry alive is good, but this board is so wide, and Charlotte is at 8 poison, and it's just it's
And
gonna
debating,
take something very powerful off the top here.
yeah, and debating here whether to play that Scrub's Eye or not. If they do decide to do it, Charlotte gets to connive with the Shredders.
Yeah, I don't think Llachlan is under any pressure here to play cards or to give Charlotte even like an ounce of advantage. You know, they have Charlotte in the lethal position. It is up to Charlotte to find a way out. So I really like the discipline of not playing a second spell this turn.
And earlier on, I would have said Llachlan has not a lot of chances of winning this game, and right now I think the opposite. Like the amount of life gain as well because of that Skrell's Eye, and really smart here from Llachlan attacking in the right moments.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is hard to see how Llachlan loses from this position. It's
And
it's
showcasing amazing talent from both players this game, I feel like.
oh yeah, this has been an incredible game 3. I mean, we got to see Charlotte's deck do what it is meant to do and get extremely close to taking down Llachlan. But these Skrelv's Hives, just such a powerful card, and I can't help but feel like this whole game came down to, Llachlan making sure to attack in and get that corrupted established, and that's going to be the concession from Charlotte.
Whoa, what a game. And I thought that overlay mishap was going to end things, but no, it looks like Llachlan was able to take the win. Congratulations, Llachlan. It was an amazing game. We had so much fun watching it and really showcasing the amazing talent from both players. Congratulations to both of you. And I wish that they all have a great 4 weeks remaining on the VML. And I think we're going to be ready to show something really special because I've heard that you, Nile, went and interviewed someone.
Yes, I did. I have an interview with one of our players for our next match. Their name is Danni, and they're going to talk to us about the deck that they brought this week.
And let's see that.
Hello, Magic players. I am here tonight with Danni, who is in Division 5 of the VML this season. They are playing Rakdos, I believe. Is that correct, Danni?
Yes, I'm playing Rakdos Midrange this week.
And you're going up against Boros Convoke, one of the kind of hot new decks with the MKM cards. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Not great, to be perfectly honest. My opponent has played the blue-green artifact aggro deck like the first 2 weeks, which I love that deck, but I thought they would continue to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'll play Rakdos and just stick a bunch of Brotherhood's End in the main deck. And then they pivoted to Boros Convoke, which is a really bad matchup for Rakdos, so don't feel great about it. But the Brotherhood's End should hopefully help anyway.
Yeah, hopefully the Brotherhood's End help. I mean, Rakdos, also a very strong deck in Standard at the moment. I know that the Convoke deck, it's new, and a lot of times it plays out a lot like a Pioneer deck. Feels very powerful, but other than Brotherhood's End, what is kind of your strategy going into the match? What do you think matters?
So a deep cavern bat on turn 2 is like really important because the Boros Convoke deck's a really synergy heavy deck. So if you can play a bat on 2 and take a key piece and disrupt their synergies, like if I'm on turn 2 on the play and I get to take the Gleeful Demolition, then they can't make the goblins, they can't convoke the knight. It slows them down a lot and allows my more individually powerful cards to take the game over.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, this is far from your first VML season, right? You have played in the past 3 seasons?
Yeah, this is my 4th, I think.
Right, and you've done really well in all of your seasons, correct? Like you made...
I think I made the elimination rounds in the first one. I came third in my division in the second one, and I made the top 8 in the last one.
Yeah, that's very impressive. How are you feeling this season of the VML with the standard as it is, and especially with the new murder cards?
Well, standard's really good right now. It's really fun. There's a lot of really interesting decks. Like, compared to some of the previous VML seasons, it felt like the suite of playable decks was a lot smaller. But because the card pool's bigger, synergy-based decks like Convoke are able to appear as well. So there's a lot more decks. So it's a lot harder to metagame against what people are doing. But I think that is good and it's refreshing. And I feel pretty good about my division, about my position. I just hope Filipa doesn't knock me out of contention for the elimination rounds. That's the one season I didn't make the elimination rounds because Filipa beat me in the head-to-head tiebreaker. So as long as she doesn't do that to me again, I'll be okay.
Well, good luck there. I know Philip is a very, very strong player as well. Now, I'm glad you brought up the metagame aspect of it because I know a lot of people have different approaches when it comes to the VML because you're allowed to change your deck every week. Do you find that you prefer to try and metagame your opponents, or do you prefer to just stick to what you think is agnostically the best deck in the format?
I try and sort of take a mixed approach. So I won't play a deck that I think is out and out bad in the format just because it has a specifically good matchup, because then if my opponent pivots, I'm the one at a disadvantage.
Right.
So I'll try and pick something generically powerful, but I'll usually tweak the list, maybe play some cards that are more typically found in the sideboard in the main deck, and sort of like try and be pre-sideboarded for the matchup. Like with my Rakdos deck, since I thought my opponent was playing an artifact deck, I put more Brotherhood's End in the main than you usually find, and more Abrades in the main than you usually find, specifically to try and have a better game one. Yeah. But the deck's just really strong, so it should be fine against whatever.
Yeah, totally. So kind of like a little bit of a mixed approach, trying to metagame your opponent with a few cards, but not maybe entirely going into a deck that you would rather not generally play.
Yeah, I'm usually quite cautious in my approach to Magic and like quite thought out. So I'm usually not willing to like bet it all on like a rogue strategy or a more off the wall deck. I'm usually not that kind of player. I usually like to try and play one of the better decks. Like I don't generally go lower than a tier 2 deck.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a very good disciplined approach to these sorts of things. Well, Danni, I'm very excited to watch your match right after this. Thank you for talking to me. We're going to get back to coverage.
And we have here our deck lists, and really fun to watch the interview. I mean, we are about to see the best division just because I'm in it. Just kidding. But it's Division 5, and we start here with Olivia. And Olivia decided to play a new deck, this Boros Convoke. I mean, not new, but now played a lot this week, the most played. What do you think of the Boros Convoke deck? And also, what did it gain with the new set?
Yeah, I love Boros Convoke right now. I mean, I love it so much that I played it this week in the VML. Didn't go great for me. Hope it goes better for Olivia here. But I really love Boros Convoke. It's so explosive. I mean, a certain percentage of the time, it is literally playing like a Pioneer level deck. Like it is so strong when it hits its like 1, 2, 3, or really 1, 2. It's almost like a creature combo deck, aggro deck. It's so powerful. The Achilles heel of the Boros Convoke list is the mana base in standard is tough. Not having a Boros fast land in the format is very felt by this deck, but we got a lot of new exciting cards for it. We got the Novice Inspector, which was huge at enabling Gleeful Demolition early, and what enables us to do the turn 2 Knight Errant. We also got War Leader's Call, which is a enchantment that is an anthem effect for your creatures and also pings your opponent when creatures enter the battlefield. And this case of the Gateway Express case enchantment is very exciting. It comes down and has all your creatures deal damage to a creature, and once you solve the case, it also turns into an anthem. really cool deck. Really excited to see Olivia play it.
Same. And let's take a look here what Danny decided to bring. And it is these Rakdos mid-range. Also, Danny here doing pretty well in the division 2-0. Definitely a player that we are looking for. Danny has consistently had good results in the VML, qualifying for the VML championship. So I expect a lot from them and decided to bring this Rakdos mid-range list. And what do you think of this Rakdos deck?
I love it. This has been such a staple and standard for a while now. And anytime you're brewing something or trying to bring a new deck to the field, one of the first questions you have to ask is, how does this do against any deck that goes bad on turn 2, Preacher on turn 3, Shieldred on turn 4? Like, that's such a devastating line, and just the amount of raw power at each of the mana values in this deck is so incredible. I'm really excited to see these two play out. I think Convoke has a little bit of an edge here. They really want to hit the ground running, get out fast before Rakdos is able to get some of their top end out, the Shieldreds, the Cruelties. But I think any hand where Boros Convoke is able to go turn 1 Inspector, turn 2 Gleeful Demolition, another creature, bring out the Errant, that's going to be a winning hand for them.
For sure, and I see there the Brotherhood's End on the sideboard that can be helpful to Danny. And if we do see more Boros Convoke become the new meta, we might see more people including some cards like these, or even the new black board wipe. And let's take a look here as our players get ready to start. And it's our final match of the day, Nile.
It is, and I have had so much fun doing this with you, Filipa.
Me
And
too.
I am excited to get into our last match here. And I'm glad you brought up the Brotherhood's End, because when I was talking to Danny, they told me that they were actually trying to metagame Olivia, because Olivia had been playing I think a Simic artifact list for the last 2 weeks. And so Danny thought, I'll just put in a couple Brotherhoods in main board, no big deal. And it ended up actually lining up very nicely against this Convoke list that Olivia brought.
It definitely does, and I'm running a very similar list to Danny, but I'm not playing Brotherhood's End. But after this week meta game, I might need to consider my life.
Yeah, definitely a Brotherhood's End, Path to Peril, something to wipe the board here. But
especially after seeing so many aggressive decks like the Toxic one, I think, except our first match of the day, the other ones were just aggro.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, turn 2 bat is really what Danny wants to see. You being able to pick apart Olivia's hand and take out some of these combo pieces is pretty huge.
And we do see a pretty good end from Danny's side. They do have cut down, they have a braid, so removal there. And next turn, they are going to be able to play that Appraiser. Cruelty of Geeks eventually is also going to be a very strong card. So definitely able to delay Olivia's plan, which is exactly what they want to be doing here.
Yeah, I like this a lot from Danny. Just managing the board enough to where Olivia will not be able to get one of these knights out this turn. And then now they have so many more options available to them. And they're going to go ahead and take out this epic here.
And we know there's reinforcements in end. The thing with that, this Appraiser can actually get removal, which would not be ideal here. I mean, it will go to end, but it can also get some strong cards. Ooh. The Brotherhood's End. And Olivia sends the crying emote. I would too.
Yeah, that is tough. Really just such a strong answer. Oh, but Gleeful Demolition is a huge draw for Olivia here.
It looks like Olivia decides to go first for the knight, just making sure it resolves. She could
Yeah.
also go for first cliff wall into the knight. That would be another option. But here, knowing about the brothers would end just playing a bit more conservatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a very, very smart play from Olivia here, trying to keep this Brotherhood's End from generating too much value for Danny. And now, of course, Danny gets a full look at this hand here.
And that bat doing some damage there. Ooh, another demolition. And very awkward to be able to start getting those demolitions, but at the same time knowing that Danny does have the Brotherhood's End in end, and also able to choose any spell next turn from the Cruelty of Geeks.
Yeah, I mean, Danny's cards have lined up so nicely against Olivia so far. Having multiple pieces of hand hate and getting to take apart Olivia's hand just at the right times. It's been very powerful.
And there we have just using one of the demolitions, being careful about that Brotherhood's End. And what would you get here with the Cruelty? Oh yeah, I think I would get this actually.
Yeah, I think Carnosaur is very good. I think just establishing board while also getting to
Ooh.
hit something like a cruelty of Gix here. I mean, this is kind of the dream for Rakdos, right? Like this is like what makes Rakdos so powerful.
Yeah, and being able to get a creature on the grave, which is also important because that Cruelty of Geeks, the other one next turn, will enter in the third counter, and being able to reanimate a creature.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting position, and it looks like Danny choosing to take apart Olivia's hand a little more.
It might be that bunny corn that gets discarded. It's either that or the Epicure. Things
Yeah,
looking pretty good here for Danny.
it is certainly looking very good for Danny. I mean, we are in the stage of the game that Olivia never really wants to get to. Like we are late stage against Rakdos. They've got 2 Cruelty of Gixes on board. I mean, Boros Convoke, very good at these explosive starts, but I don't
Ooh,
know.
but there's the new enchantment that we were talking about.
Yeah, War Leader's
War
Call
Leaders or
definitely helps, and that Anthem effect is nice, but this board from Danny is just so powerful and so overwhelming.
the thing is that this Brotherhood's End, at least it also takes care. It also does have to deal with the bat and the appraiser, so it's not
Mhm.
that great for Danny because of that.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward, especially now that there's no artifacts on board anymore.
I want to see what card. Okay, ooh,
Ooh.
that's quite the card there from Danny. And this is a very difficult card to deal with because the Aclazots as a lifelink, which is the keyword that Olivia does not want to see.
Yeah, Olivia really needed to hit her Case of the Gateway Express here or something similar, but even then, like, this bat's gonna keep coming back, and that is
But there's a
one of
lot
the
of
hardest
damage.
cards to deal with.
Yeah, but there's a lot of damage because of this enchantment. If with Gleeful Demolition, but no, it's not enough yet. And as you said, the life gain there is just going to be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and I really like what Olivia's doing here, really setting herself up for success on the following turns. You know, a turn where we get to go like Gleeful Demolition into Imidane's Recruiter could be enough even with this 4/4 lifelinker.
And attacking here with the 4/4 and the bat as well. Putting Olivia down to 11. And going back to 13 life.
Yeah. I mean, the cut down in Danni's hand is honestly pulling a good amount of weight right now.
I think Danny may be also considering if it's worth or not to run that Brotherhood's End, and it looks like they think it's worth it here, which it also takes care of the bunny.
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh no, actually it does not take care of the bunny because of all those, because of the enchantment as well.
Oh man, a second artifact would do quite a bit. But honestly, a land is really probably what Olivia wanted to see off the top there. We're gonna see her do some math. This is a complicated turn. I mean, it's tough. 5 blockers is a lot of blockers.
That Imodane Recruiter is able to do some work, but it does not give trample to the creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty incredible if it could, but with oh man, this is a tough position for Olivia with 5 blockers up. I think I really like this. This kind of keeps our option open that we had last turn of draw, you know, Gleeful into Imidane's. You know, once we get another artifact on board. The problem here is, you know, we're playing further and further into this Brotherhood's End.
Yeah, committing quite a lot, and now an appraiser is also drawn. So then he might be forced here to use that Brotherhood's End.
I think that they probably are. They don't know about the Imidanes in hand, but they do know that they're in the deck, and surely they have to know that this is a way that they can get out. And I think seeing them attack with this 3/2 and this 1/2 is a pretty clear indicator that a Brotherhood's End is coming.
Yep. The end is near.
The end is certainly near.
And here, Olivia deciding what to block. So, able to also block the 3/2. Oh,
Yeah.
but actually, that block is going to help Danni a lot because now that Brotherhood's End can also deal with the Knight.
Yeah, I think the best case for Olivia here is to block the appraiser with the 2/2s to keep this knight online, because this is going to wipe Olivia's whole board, I believe.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was quite the turn there.
Oh, and we're still gonna get an appraiser.
Yep, and a bot. Choose your hero. It's either recruiter or recruiter. And this is a good game. Quite a game here. 1, Olivia did manage to establish a good board, but knowing about that Brotherhood's End, it was just the card of the game, just shaped the whole game.
Yeah, it really did. And I also think that Aclazotz was a pretty huge get for Danny. Without it, there were definitely some turns where, with the War Leader's call down, like a Gleeful or two or an Imidane's, something could have swayed the life points enough that Olivia could have closed that game out. But Danny just gaining 5 life every turn, that is a lot for an aggressive deck to deal with.
And I'm taking a look here at the sideboard. So it looks like Danny runs 2 main Brotherhood's End. There's an additional one on the sideboard. There's also a Deadly Cover-Up, which is the new board wipe for 5 mana.
Yeah,
And I
very
feel like
interested
this,
to see that card.
I feel like this Rakdos deck just escalates so quickly. Like the discovery part of it is just so strong.
Yeah, it is. It is very strong. I mean, the fact that you are able to put those cards into hand if you don't want to play them, unlike something like Cascade, is so powerful. And I mean, we just saw the strength of that where, we discover into a Brotherhood's End that now is not the most opportune time to play it, but it will be at some point against Olivia's deck. That's so powerful.
And it looks like Danny just completely removes the blood type harvesters, goes up on Abrades, removing geeks there. So making sure they have more removal cards.
Yeah, I like this a lot from Danny. The harvesters are always going to feel a bit awkward into Olivia's deck. Olivia plays so many 1-drops, small creatures, that it's going to be pretty rare for you to get a harvester trade that feels worth it, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely want to trim on some of the cards that are going to be dealing you pain. Yeah, I think this is some pretty smart boarding, and I really like those extract the truths that we see Danny kind of considering.
Yeah, we might see. Yeah, the Carnosaurus go back in. We might see the Deadly Cover-Up as another board wipe. And that's it. We are going to have a lot of board wipes now. Ooh, and look at this. Olivia only gets
Ooh.
1 land, but Danny has access to the rest into Bat with a Braid and Brotherhood's End. Ooh, and looks like Olivia does decide to keep that 1 lander.
That is a little spicy, but could also turn out to be pretty powerful. I mean, at the very least, gets to scry off this Warden if she wants, and it looks like she does. And yeah, is probably just going to put anything that is not a land on bottom there.
Oof.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, Danny also does not have access to a 3rd land yet.
Yeah, that is true. We get to abrade this Warden. I mean, if Olivia hits like land, this hand is kind of powerful. I mean, depending on like what Danny does. I mean, the 2 bats and the duress.
And no follow-up there. Still no land. What a game. I mean, very awkward here for Olivia. And Danny able to eat the land drops. That land will enter tapped, but still.
Yeah, this is a
But this,
surprising amount of options for duress. Convoke often doesn't have like a ton of things they can take, and Danny really got their pick there.
Yeah, but a land can really do some work, start developing the board. But we already know there's more Brotherhood's End on the other side. There's the Greeks command. Okay, land there, uh, which definitely does help.
Hmm. I think that's a very disciplined play from Olivia, not playing the reinforcements on her turn and getting the scry trigger, because it makes, it just makes an additional Brotherhood's End or other board wipe so much more powerful. Whereas now, at least, if you can get Danni to play one of these board wipes, you're still getting a couple cards back.
And somebody asked us if we were participating on the tournament, what deck would you use? And we are actually participating in the tournament. I'm playing with these Rakdos, very similar to Danny's list here. What about you, Nile?
Well, ironically, you and I this week played basically these two decks because I was on Boros Convoke this week.
That's true, and I mean that's pretty interesting. Let's see. We didn't play against each other though.
We did not
But
play against each other. Thankfully to me, I would like to dodge you in as many tournaments as possible, to be honest.
thank you. I mean, I went 0-4 in the regional championship, so I think you're safe.
Well, you've played in the regional championships.
Thanks to the VML just showcasing how many opportunities this tournament does bring. That Witch Stalker is going to be very strong there and chipping it at some damage. And looks like Danny kind of having an awkward end there. I mean, they started really well.
Yeah,
But
I'm
not having those shieldreds, I mean, removing the key cards, not the key cards, but removing some of the cards to bring access to a lot of disruption, uh, and also just being flooded overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing Olivia rewarded for her discipline earlier in the match, or in the game, sorry. Like Danny started in such a dominant position, and like Olivia struggling to hit that land drop. It seemed hard to imagine her getting out of it, but I mean, we're seeing now, like, she's built quite the board. Uh, she can play something like the Knight Errant if she wants and have something that survives a Brotherhood's End.
And that knight going to bring so much value as well.
Yeah, I mean, Danny had a lot of early answers and was able to, stop a lot of what Olivia was doing. But Olivia, especially, only drawing spells, just has so many threats in her deck, and they're all so cheap and efficient that you can just go, oh, okay, you wiped my board. All right, I played 2 more creatures. Oh, you wiped those. I played 2 more creatures. And you can keep doing that for so long. And now, Danny flooding out 2 cards in hand, Olivia 5 cards in hand with only 2 mana, but with a deck like Boros Convoke, that's kind of all you need.
At least that Restless Vents is able to try to draw some. Oh no, another land. How many lands in a row did Danny draw? They have not been lucky this game.
Yeah, that's tough. Oh, but the Brotherhood's End there is also going to take care of Danny's own land.
Oh, and Danny immediately saying, oops.
Yeah, that is huge for Olivia.
Yeah, that was rough. I think maybe Danny didn't realize that the Restless was there. I'm not sure what happened, but
Yeah, I think that's an easy thing to miss. And honestly, I think in paper, your creature land does not die there most of the time. I think most of the time, people both forget that that's there and also affected by Brotherhood's End. I think it's a totally reasonable mistake to make in a tournament setting like this.
Yeah. And we see again Danni with the removal, but no real follow-up.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
and this enchantment is just going to be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Olivia is so in the driver's seat now. Being able to play
And
this, make 3 creatures with the Gleeful. I mean, unless Danni kills some of these creatures, a lot of damage. And even still, it's going to be 3 damage to face, 2 off of the attack. Ooh.
for sure, Danni needs to draw something here. Cut down. I don't think cut down makes it because 6 damage can be dealt from the creatures, and then there's enough on end with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was quite the game. I mean, it was in the beginning. Olivia did take a while to take off. I mean, I think only getting a land on like turn 3 or 4, maybe 4. And on the other side, we saw Danni that had a great start, but drawing land after land.
Yeah, I think what we really saw there, I mean, obviously Danni got flooded, which was pretty tough, but also their hand, I mean, their whole game basically was pretty much nothing but answers. And I think what they really need is like that perfect balance of answers for what Olivia's doing and threats of their own. Which, I mean, obviously we saw that they had one of those threats with the creature land, which, accidentally got Brotherhood's ended away. But I think even if it hadn't, they needed just a little bit more on board instead of just constantly having to answer what Olivia's doing. Because if that's the game you're playing, Olivia's cards are just going to end up looking more efficient.
And I think that's exactly what Danni is doing now in this sideboard plan, realizing exactly that, like, I did have the answers, but I did lack some follow-up. So now putting more creatures also on the play, being able to play a not so reactive game plan.
Yeah, and I think that really shows the skill of a player like Danni when they are able to identify changes in their sideboard that need to be made between games within a match.
And here going for the bat.
Turn 2 bat is so good against this deck. It does like everything that you want a card to do against this deck.
Yep, it is a great card, and that's why it's been seeing so much play in these Rakdos lists. It's shown to be one of the best cards for standard in the Excellent set.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards that like gets printed and then pretty quickly starts seeing play all over the place.
That Volderan Epicure also starting to deal some damage, create some tokens, but no Gleeful Demolition yet to take advantage of those tokens. And that Preacher is actually really good against the Boros, but we know that Destroy Evil on the other side.
Yeah, this is what's really tough for the position Olivia's in, is Preacher is such a good answer to so much of her deck that it's going to be very tempting to destroy evil it. But we know with our caster vision that Danni can easily follow that up with a Shieldred, which is an even better answer to Olivia's deck.
Yep, so it's going to be Destroy Evil right now on a dead Preacher, and we are going to, as you said, probably see something like a Shieldred or an Appraiser.
Yeah, and this is where we're really seeing Danni be the one more in the driver's seat with the threats that have to be answered. And not having an answer for this Shieldred is backbreaking for Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia really needs the Witch Stalker.
Yes, absolutely.
Really rough here because do you even wait one turn to be able to cast that Imodane's Recruiter adventure side? And now Olivia is the one flooding. She's flooding, drawing land after land, and that's not what the Boros deck wants to do. Running out of gas
Yeah,
when Danny has so much on the other side.
I think flooding is even worse for Olivia than it is for Danny, as we're gonna see the cry emoji come out. And this is a tough position. This is a tough position for Olivia. These are not the cards that she needs right now.
No, I mean, at this moment, the only thing Olivia can do is chump block, which is not what this deck wants to be doing at all.
Mm-mm.
We see that reinforcement. So the reinforcements we can see a double block on the Harvester. Just chumping there the Shieldred, and now an Appraiser. Getting an Abrade. I mean, at this point, Olivia already sending the good game because there is not much to do when the Rakdos
Yeah.
deck is doing Rakdos things. And this was quite a games that we saw. I mean, in the end, this sideboard plan changing really paid off for Danny. I really feel like bringing again on the play more creatures, more ways to actually control the game and not be so reactive really paid off for Danny there.
Yeah, I think this really shows a pretty good understanding of the matchup from Danny. Being on the draw against Boros Convoke is very scary. They have hands that you just kind of can't beat. And so I think trying to prepare more for that and control their board early, like turn one early, is pretty smart. I mean, obviously we saw it didn't line up quite how they needed it to game two, but was able to get their game three, changing up their plan a little bit. And congratulations to Danny. That was incredible to watch.
Congratulations to Danny, which now advances at 3-0 in Division 5, my division. So I really need to keep an eye on Danny there because definitely playing very well throughout this tournament. And congrats to Olivia as well, which showcased a lot of great gameplay. And I think that's the team throughout the stream. We saw a lot of different decks. We saw players showcasing the strengths of their deck, and just goes to show how much the VML is growing and how many amazing players we have to showcase here, which is amazing to do. And Nile, it has been such a pleasure to cast with you for the first time here on the VML. Welcome to you. It's so nice to have you here with us in the booth. And we also would like to thank our sponsor, Wizards of the Coast. Without them, the VML wouldn't be possible. A big thanks to you watching, and also to Phoebe, our amazing production team. And I think that's going to be it for week 3. We have 4 more weeks of the Robin, and then we have a cut to top 8, so top 32. So make sure to stay tuned and follow the VML on Twitter and here on Twitch, so you can catch the next stream next Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Great. Thank you very much, Filipa. It was great to be here.
Bye bye, everyone. Have an amazing weekend.
Bye.